Now in 10th grade, children come back in a very different place. Having a year of high school underneath their belt, they're very confident and oftentimes actually a bit overconfident, a bit full of themselves. 10th grade is a time when often children will go to extremes. They feel like they can go out into the world and conquer anything, much like Odysseus of the great Greek epic, the Odyssey. Now in the Odyssey, Odysseus is leaving Troy having been a war hero. He has the spoils of war, he has a great ship, he's going back to be the king of a wonderful nation. But his journey back to Ithaca is anything but simple. He ends up having to undergo 12 trials, facing the temptations of life. Some of them would seem rather obscure on face value, looking at a 3,000-year-old epic. But when we look closely at them, these things are very timeless and archetypal in the way that they are presented to children. Perhaps you remember the story of Circe. He goes to an island where there's this beautiful temptress who seemingly can give a man all of the pleasures, all the things that his heart and soul desire. But of course, she later turns these men into pigs. There's also the story of going to the lotus eaters, these people who offer this dreamlike narcotic bliss that people can live forever on this island in this dreamy daze. And of course, the story of the sirens who, with their beautiful music, draw the sailors to crash their ships upon the rocks. Well, here it is, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. What could be more pertinent for a 10th grader facing the temptations of the world? And here they are embodied in a story that has stood the test of time and is written in this beautiful poetic fashion. In 11th grade, they do a forestry intensive and also do an internship or a practicum in a field of which they might be interested to work when they become adults, whether it be working with a local artist or a small business or a nonprofit agency. They start to see that their time in high school is coming short. They're starting to look at college applications, really looking out into the world to try to decide what it is they're going to do. So now these young people start to face a real inner trial, a real inner turmoil, as they start to delve deeply into themselves and really take stock of who they are as human beings. Things that once came very easily now seem to be a real struggle for them. They often experience a falling away of their confidence. And to meet this, we start to explore Dante and Dante's Inferno. The first level of Dante's Inferno is reserved for people who were lustful, who were gluttonous, people who basically succumbed to their own selfish impulses. These Dante describes as lack of self-control, lack of impulse control. And this is obviously something that these 11th graders are having to grapple with. Now the next level, as they go deeper and deeper into this inferno that Dante has them encounter, is this level of treachery, of even murder. The things that would seem to be the most extreme of the sins that could be committed. But Dante sees these again as extremes of passion, where people have lost control of their emotional self and created these sins out of their own lack of self-control. The depth of hell he reserves for thievery and hypocrisy. And although it would seem that thievery would be a much lesser transgression than murder, Dante sees that thievery and hypocrisy are actually things that come out of a deliberate misuse of our human capacities. And this he sees as a far greater transgression than something that would come out of our lack of impulse control or over-emotional response to a situation. So finally we come to the 12th grade. And in the 12th grade, these young people are now standing on the threshold between high school, which they're very quickly outgrowing, and the world that they so deeply want to get out and make an impact on. Here we really want to have them experience the question of who am I and who am I going to be in the world? What better way to do this than to look at the transcendentalists, these great American thinkers, Emerson, Hawthorne, Thoreau, Whitman, Dickinson, people who really took philosophy to its next level. These American thinkers were able to really explore the question of self in a way that even today meets the modern world, meets the modern mind, and gives us an opportunity to explore the relationship between the self and the spirit in modern terms. In Emerson's construction of the human being, first of all, he said that the foundation of the human being is in the spirit. The second thing that he said was that human beings are very much like a god in ruin. And the third thing that he was able to express was that the idea is that human beings are actually a dwarf of themselves, a very small piece of what they could be in their highest spiritual self. And so these transcendentalists ask us to rekindle our spiritual forces. But in order to do this, we must not look to the past, but to the future. It is in transcending the past that we are able to really find ourselves. And as Emerson said, genius looks forward. Man hopes, genius creates. And this is the picture that we want to have for the 12th grader, that it is in looking forward that they find themselves. The real battle is the battle of integrity of self versus the demands of society. Conformity opposes the integrity of our own mind. The self is the ultimate tool or weapon to oppose the forces that would try to drive us into conformity and therefore take away what is most unique and what is the ultimate gift that we can give to the world. It is not what we are, but what we are becoming. We must go into the world seeking, not knowing, and holding on to oneself in the midst of all of life's challenges. This is the greatest skill that a human being must possess. So if we take the curriculum of the Waldorf School as a totality, by taking the time to really develop what is important at each stage of life, in the early childhood, really focusing on the physical characteristics, in the lower school, really focusing on the soul qualities, on the feeling life, and in the high school, really focusing on the academic and the intellectual capacities of the human being, there's a fullness that's developed so that when these children become adults, they really have a sense of all of the qualities that make up a human being. The physical, the emotional, and the intellectual, with a real balance between them. And you can see in the graduates that come out of our school, when they go off to college, you can see the confidence that they have as whole human beings, a feeling that they can do things with their hands, that they have a deep emotional self to draw from, and that they have the intellectual capacities to meet the challenges that they will confront in their academic and their adult lives. The professors who work with these young people when they come to their college, to their university life, remark time and again that they see in them a passion for learning and a depth of field that they can draw from that enlivens everything that they do. They remark on how much they enjoy working with these students and how they can see that this depth of experience that they gain through their years in Waldorf education aids them in being able to pour themselves into the work they choose to do on a university level.
Thank you for your interest in the Emerson Waldorf School. We invite you to visit us and experience for yourself this wonderful form of education.